Commander Vrell stood on the observation deck of his warship, the Crimson Talon, watching the primitive blue planet rotate slowly below. His 4 eyes gleamed with what could only be described as contempt mixed with amusement. Earth, such a pathetic little world, and yet here he was, forced to acknowledge its existence because the Galactic Council had deemed humans worthy of evaluation. "Worthy!" Vrell barked, his mandibles clicking in derision. "These apes barely mastered faster-than-light travel last season, and already the Council wants to assess them for membership." His second officer, a younger Krathian named Dulvik, shifted nervously beside him. "Sir, the preliminary scans show they've made remarkable progress in the past 100 cycles. Their population has spread across 7 star systems, and their technological advancement curve is, well, unprecedented. Unprecedented stupidity, perhaps." Vrell turned away from the viewport, his crimson scales catching the harsh overhead lighting. "Schedule a landing party. I want to see these creatures up close, evaluate their world. If I'm going to recommend their extermination to the Council, I need proper documentation." Dulvik's eyes widened. "Extermination, sir? Surely you mean denial of membership or perhaps quarantine." Vrell's laugh was a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the observation deck. "Did I stutter, Dulvik? Look at their history. Constant warfare, environmental destruction, tribal conflicts that persist even now. They're a plague waiting to spread across the galaxy. Better to eliminate the problem before it metastasizes." The landing site Vrell chose was deliberate. A rural area in what Earth's inhabitants called Montana, far from major population centers, perfect for an unannounced evaluation. The Council didn't need to know about this particular excursion. After all, what they didn't know couldn't complicate his plans. The shuttle descended through wispy clouds, touching down in a meadow surrounded by dense forest. Vrell emerged first, breathing apparatus attached to his face, though analysis showed Earth's atmosphere was compatible with Krathian physiology. No need to take chances with these primitives and their polluted air. "Spread out," he ordered his 4-soldier escort. "Document everything. I want evidence of their inadequacy, their barbarism, their fundamental unsuitability for civilized society." The forest was quiet, almost eerily so. Vrell had studied Earth's ecology extensively, or at least he'd skimmed the reports his subordinates had compiled. Supposedly dangerous predators roamed these woods, bears and wolves and mountain lions. He'd seen footage. Laughable creatures, really. Nothing compared to the apex predators of his homeworld, Krathus Prime. Then he heard it, a sound so utterly out of place in this wilderness that it stopped Vrell cold. Crying, not the wailing of an adult, but the high-pitched, terrified sobbing of a child. "Sir," Dulvik looked to him for orders. Vrell's expression darkened. "Investigate. This could be useful. Document any child endangerment. Add it to the list of human incompetence." They moved through the underbrush, following the sound. What they found made even Vrell pause, his prepared speech of condemnation momentarily forgotten. A human child, no more than 5 Earth years by his estimation, sat at the base of a massive pine tree. The boy was injured, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead, his left ankle twisted at an unnatural angle. Tears streamed down his dirt-smeared face as he clutched a small, worn stuffed animal to his chest. "Pathetic," Vrell muttered, but something in his voice lacked its usual conviction. "Where are this child's guardians?" "This is exactly the kind of negligence I expected." Dulvik scanned the area. "Sir, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures approximately 200 meters to our west. Some kind of confrontation, possibly hostile." Before Vrell could respond, the child's crying intensified. But now there was something else, a new sound that made the Krathian commander's scales ripple with ancestral warning. A low, guttural growl. Vrell spun toward the source, his weapon already drawn. What he saw made him laugh, actual genuine laughter that doubled him over. "You cannot be serious," he wheezed between chuckles. "This is Earth's great defense? This is what approaches?" The creature emerging from the bushes was, by any objective measure, ridiculous. Roughly half a meter long, stocky, with a distinctive white stripe running from its snout across its head, black and silver fur, short legs, and an expression that could only be described as perpetually annoyed. "A mustelid," Dulvik said, consulting his datapad. "Species classification, Mellivora capensis. Common name, honey badger. Sir, according to the database, these creatures are known for their, aggressive temperament." "It's the size of my boot," Vrell howled with mirth. "What's it going to do? Nibble my ankle?" The honey badger positioned itself directly between the Krathian soldiers and the injured child. Its small eyes fixed on Vrell with an intensity that seemed almost intelligent, almost calculating. The growl intensified. "Shoo," Vrell said, waving his hand dismissively. "Go on, vermin. We have no quarrel with you." The honey badger did not shoo. Instead, it took a step forward. Vrell's amusement began to fade. There was something wrong here, something his predator's instincts were screaming at him to recognize. This creature, this absurd little beast, wasn't displaying the fear response he'd expect from prey encountering a superior predator. If anything, it seemed offended by their presence. "Sir," one of his soldiers said nervously, "perhaps we should withdraw and approach from another angle." "Withdraw?" Vrell's pride flared. "From this? Absolutely not. I will not be intimidated by Earth's wildlife, especially not by something so obviously inferior." He took a step toward the child, intending to scan the boy for his report. Document the injury, the abandonment, the clear evidence of human parental failure. The honey badger attacked. What happened next would be analyzed, debated, and ultimately classified by the Galactic Council as Incident Report Gamma 714. But in the moment, it was simply chaos. Beautiful, terrifying, absolutely insane chaos. The creature moved with a speed that defied its stocky build, launching itself at Vrell's lead leg. Teeth designed to crack open beehives and dig through termite mounds found purchase in the seam of his combat armor. The commander felt pain, actual pain, something he hadn't experienced in combat for decades. "Get it off!" He shook his leg violently, but the honey badger held firm, twisting and pulling with leverage that seemed impossible for something its size. His soldiers moved to assist, but the moment they approached, the creature released Vrell and turned on them with the same fearless aggression. It darted between their legs, climbing up one soldier's back with claws that scored deep gouges in military-grade armor plating. Vrell drew his plasma pistol. Surely this would end the ridiculous confrontation. But as he aimed, the honey badger dropped from his soldier's back and charged him again. Not with the blind rage of a cornered animal, but with what appeared to be tactical awareness. It zigzagged, used the terrain, even seemed to anticipate where Vrell would aim. "Sir, recommend full retreat." Dulvik's voice had risen to a pitch Vrell had never heard from his composed second officer. "No!" Vrell fired, the plasma bolt scorching earth where the honey badger had been a microsecond before. "It's one animal. We are Krathian warriors. We conquered 17 star systems. We will not be defeated by something that weighs less than a standard ration pack." The honey badger seemed to take this personally. It launched itself at Vrell's face, claws extended, teeth bared. The commander threw his arms up instinctively and felt the creature latch onto his forearm. The pain was extraordinary. How was this possible? His scales were supposed to be nearly impenetrable. Through the chaos, through his own shouting and his soldiers' panicked attempts to assist, Vrell heard the child's crying change. It wasn't fear anymore, or at least not only fear. The boy was calling out, "Brutus! Brutus, stop! You'll get hurt!" The honey badger, apparently named Brutus, did not stop. If anything, the child's voice seemed to fuel its fury. It released Vrell's arm and immediately went for his breathing apparatus, tiny paws surprisingly dexterous as they grabbed at the tubes and seals. Vrell stumbled backward, tripped over a root, and fell hard onto his back. The honey badger landed on his chest, its face inches from his own. Up close, Vrell could see the scars crisscrossing its muzzle, the old wounds along its flanks. This creature had fought before, many times, and won. Its breath smelled like honey and rage. "Dulvik!" Vrell gasped. "Stun it! Low power! Don't want to hurt the thing!" The irony of his concern for the creature actively mauling him was not lost on anyone present. Dulvik fired the stun beam, but Brutus somehow sensed it coming. The honey badger rolled off Vrell's chest, the beam passing harmlessly overhead, and immediately charged the second officer. Dulvik yelped, an undignified sound for a Krathian warrior, and scrambled backward. The remaining soldiers formed a defensive perimeter, weapons raised, but none of them fired. The situation had escalated beyond their training protocols. What was the appropriate response to a small mammal that fought like a creature possessed? Their weapons could vaporize the beast, certainly, but something held them back. Perhaps it was the child, still crying, still calling out to his small protector. Perhaps it was the growing realization that this entire situation was absurd beyond measure. Brutus stood in the center of their circle, breathing hard, blood on his muzzle, whether his own or Vrell's was unclear. The honey badger turned slowly, keeping all the Krathians in view, and growled again. The message was clear. "Leave." "This is insane," Vrell muttered, checking his wounded arm. The armor was breached in 3 places, his scales torn, green blood oozing from the lacerations. "It's protecting the child. Why? Humans and honey badgers aren't even the same species. They're not pack animals. There's no evolutionary incentive for this behavior." Dulvik, who had regained some composure despite backing up another 3 meters, consulted his datapad with shaking hands. "Sir, there are documented cases of honey badgers exhibiting extreme aggression when defending territory. They've been known to fight off lions, hyenas, even adult male elephants. There's a recorded incident of one attacking a buffalo herd." "Why didn't you mention this before?" Vrell snapped. "I didn't think it was relevant. It's 1/2 meter long." The standoff continued. Brutus hadn't moved from his position between the soldiers and the child. The boy had gone quiet now, watching the scene with wide, terrified eyes. Then, from the west, where Dulvik had detected those energy signatures earlier, came the sound of voices. Human voices, shouting, calling out a name. "Tommy! Tommy, where are you?" The child's face lit up. "Mom! Dad! I'm here! I'm over here!" Brutus's posture shifted slightly, his aggression not decreasing but perhaps refocusing. He knew these voices. They meant something to him. Vrell made a decision that would haunt him for years to come. "Retreat to the shuttle, now, all of you!" "Sir?" Dulvik looked shocked. "We're leaving." "We're making a tactical withdrawal," Vrell corrected, his pride demanding the distinction. "I've seen enough, more than enough." They backed away slowly, Brutus watching every step. When they'd gained 50 meters, the honey badger finally relaxed slightly, though his eyes never left them. He waddled back to the child, who immediately threw his good arm around the creature's neck. "Good boy, Brutus," the child sobbed. "Good boy. You saved me." Vrell heard this as they retreated. The words echoed in his mind as they boarded the shuttle, as they lifted off from Earth's surface, as he sat in the medical bay having his wounds treated. A creature weighing less than 15 kilograms had just routed 5 armed Krathian soldiers. Not through superior technology or numbers, but through sheer, absolute, uncompromising will. It hadn't cared about the odds. It hadn't assessed the tactical situation and determined it was outmatched. It had seen a vulnerable child and decided, in whatever passed for thought in its brain, that nothing would reach that child while it drew breath. "Sir," the medical officer said as she sealed the last of his wounds, "these are deep. Another centimeter and it would have severed your primary circulation conduit. What kind of weapon caused this?" Vrell stared at the ceiling. "Teeth, just teeth, and claws." The officer's expression suggested she thought he was in shock. Back in his quarters, Vrell pulled up Earth's biological database. He spent hours reading about Mellivora capensis, the honey badger, listed in the Guinness Book of Records as the most fearless creature on the planet. Thick, loose skin that allowed it to twist and fight even when gripped by predators. Resistance to venom from snakes and scorpions. Documented cases of them raiding beehives while being stung hundreds of times, seemingly unbothered. Intelligence scores surprisingly high for their brain size, capable of using tools and solving complex problems. And that temperament. Oh, that temperament. They just don't care, Vrell murmured to himself. They assess a threat, determine it's dangerous, and attack anyway. It's not stupidity. It's choice. They choose to fight. He thought about the child, Tommy, and the creature's unwavering defense. Thought about humanity's own history, all those wars and conflicts he'd cited as evidence of their barbarism. But what if he'd been looking at it wrong? What if that aggression, that refusal to back down, wasn't a weakness but a fundamental trait of Earth's dominant species? Humans had pets. They formed bonds with other species, trained them, loved them, but they also shared certain characteristics with their animals. That honey badger's fierce protectiveness, its absolute refusal to yield. Where had it learned that? Or had it simply recognized a kindred spirit in the humans who'd taken it in? Vrell's communicator chimed. Dulvik's face appeared on the screen. "Sir, the Council is requesting your preliminary report on humanity's evaluation." Vrell looked at his bandaged arm, felt the dull ache where a creature 1/100th his size had wounded him, remembered those small, fierce eyes, filled with determination and zero fear. "Tell them," he said slowly, "that I need more time. Substantially more time. Sir, there's something here I don't understand yet. Something important. That child was injured, alone, vulnerable. The logical response from a wild animal would be to ignore it or possibly prey upon it. Instead, a honey badger, a creature with no genetic relation to humans, no domestication imperative like their dogs or cats, chose to defend that child against armed extraterrestrials. Not because it was trained, not because it was programmed, because it decided that child mattered." Dulvik was quiet for a moment. "Sir, are you saying this changes your assessment?" "I'm saying," Vrell replied carefully, "that any species that can inspire that kind of loyalty in another species, any world that produces creatures like that honey badger, deserves more than a superficial evaluation. We need to understand what we're dealing with here." After ending the call, Vrell returned to the observation deck. Earth rotated below, peaceful and blue and utterly deceptive. Somewhere down there, in a forest in Montana, a small child was probably being reunited with his parents. A honey badger named Brutus was probably receiving treats and praise for defending his young charge. And Vrell, commander of the Crimson Talon, conqueror of 17 star systems, warrior of the Krathian Empire, was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. He'd been afraid, not tactically concerned, not professionally cautious, actually genuinely afraid, of a honey badger. The absurdity of it made him laugh again, but this time the laughter was hollow, uncertain, because if one small Earth creature could make him feel fear, what were the humans themselves capable of? He was beginning to suspect he really didn't want to know the answer, but he was absolutely certain he needed to find out. 3 days had passed since the incident in Montana, and Vrell had done nothing but research. His crew watched nervously as their commander, typically decisive and aggressive, pored over Earth data files with an intensity that bordered on obsession. He'd ordered complete surveillance of the forest area, specifically tracking the child named Tommy and his unusual protector. What he discovered made his initial assessment seem laughably inadequate. Tommy Bridger was 7 years old, not 5 as Vrell had estimated. He lived with his parents on a wildlife rehabilitation center, one of dozens scattered across North America. His father, Marcus Bridger, was a veterinarian who specialized in treating injured wild animals before releasing them back into their habitats. His mother, Elena, was a wildlife biologist studying predator behavior patterns. Brutus had arrived at their center 3 years ago, rescued from illegal wildlife traders who'd planned to sell him on the black market. The honey badger had been malnourished, injured, and according to the veterinary records Vrell had hacked, extremely aggressive toward anyone who approached, except Tommy. The surveillance footage showed something remarkable. 4-year-old Tommy had walked right up to Brutus's enclosure while his parents were distracted, opened the feeding slot, and offered the angry creature a peanut butter sandwich. By all logic, Brutus should have bitten the child's hand off. Instead, the honey badger had taken the sandwich gently, eaten it, and allowed Tommy to scratch behind his ears. Impossible, Vrell muttered, watching the footage for the 20th time. Every behavioral model says this shouldn't work. The creature was traumatized, aggressive, defensive. Children are unpredictable, loud, threatening to wild animals. This makes no sense. Dolvik entered the commander's quarters carrying a tray of nutrition supplements. "Sir, you need to rest. You haven't slept in 72 hours. "I'll rest when I understand this," Vrell snapped, then softened his tone. "Look at this, Dolvik. Really look. That child has no fear, not ignorant bravado, not reckless stupidity. He approaches that honey badger like he knows, absolutely knows, that he won't be harmed." "How?" Dolvik studied the screen. "Perhaps children simply lack the survival instincts adults develop." "No. Watch his body language. He's calm, confident, but also respectful. He doesn't grab or surprise the animal. He waits for acknowledgement before touching. This is learned behavior, but he's 4 years old in this footage. Who taught him?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Vrell had been monitoring Earth's communication networks, specifically social media posts from the Bridger family. Elena Bridger had posted a video just hours ago, responding to local news coverage of Tommy's rescue. The commander played it, watching as the human woman spoke directly to the camera, her son beside her with his leg in a cast, and Brutus curled contentedly in the boy's lap. "A lot of people have asked how Tommy survived alone in the woods with a broken ankle," Elena said, her voice steady despite obvious emotion. "The truth is, he wasn't alone. Brutus followed him when he wandered off during our hiking trip. We'd been searching for 3 hours, terrified, and when we found him, Brutus was standing guard. My son told us that some scary-looking soldiers tried to approach, and Brutus protected him." The camera zoomed in on Tommy, who grinned despite his injuries. "Brutus doesn't like mean people. He could tell they wanted to hurt me." Marcus Bridger appeared in frame. Honey badgers are known for their aggressive nature, but what people don't understand is that aggression often comes from fear or protection instinct. Brutus bonded with Tommy because my son showed him kindness when he needed it most. Animals remember that. They recognize genuine compassion. Elena nodded. "We teach Tommy that every creature deserves respect, from the smallest mouse to the largest bear. If you approach wildlife with understanding rather than dominance, amazing things can happen. Though we definitely don't recommend trying this at home," she added with a small smile. The video ended with Tommy hugging Brutus, the honey badger making a sound that almost resembled purring. Vrell sat back, his mind racing. They teach the child respect for other species, compassion for creatures that could easily harm him. This wasn't unique to the Bridger family either. His research had uncovered thousands of similar examples across Earth. Humans rescuing animals from natural disasters, forming sanctuaries for endangered species, risking their lives to protect creatures that offered no tactical advantage, no resources, no logical benefit. "It's a weakness," he said aloud, trying to convince himself. "Emotional attachment clouds judgment, makes them vulnerable." "Does it, sir?" Dolvik asked quietly. Before Vrell could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. His communicator exploded with frantic messages. "Commander, we have multiple contacts approaching. Unknown configuration. Definitely not human." Vrell sprinted to the bridge, Dolvik close behind. The view screen showed 5 ships decloaking around the Crimson Talon, sleek, angular vessels bristling with weapons. Vrell's blood ran cold as he recognized the design. Scarran raiders. "How did they find us here?" he demanded. "This system isn't even on major trade routes." His tactical officer's voice was grim. "Sir, they've been tracking us. Long-range scans show they followed our warp signature from the Deneb sector. They're hailing us." On screen, the face that appeared made Vrell's scales ripple with instinctive hatred. Captain Jarn of the Scarran Collective, a notorious pirate whose crew specialized in salvaging advanced technology from destroyed ships. They'd been harassing Krathian vessels for years, always staying just ahead of military response. "Commander Vrell." Jarn's voice was like gravel scraping metal. "How convenient to find you here, so far from reinforcements. That's a beautiful ship you have. I think we'll take it." "You wouldn't dare attack a Krathian military vessel," Vrell growled. "Normally, no. But you're alone, investigating a primitive world that nobody cares about. If you disappear, well, space is dangerous. Accidents happen." Jarn's smile revealed too many teeth. "Surrender your ship and we'll leave your crew alive. Resist, and we'll take it anyway, just with considerably more bloodshed." Vrell checked his tactical display. 5 against 1, all armed with comparable weaponry. His ship was powerful, but not that powerful. The nearest Krathian fleet was 6 days away at maximum warp. Earth had no defensive capabilities that could help. Their most advanced warships were still using primitive fusion drives. They were alone. "Sir," his weapons officer said urgently, "they're charging weapons, targeting our engines and shields. They want to disable us." Vrell's mind raced through options. Fight and likely lose. Surrender and definitely lose. Try to run and get shot down in the attempt. Every tactical analysis came up with the same conclusion. They were going to die here. Then his console lit up with an incoming transmission. From Earth. "Unidentified spacecraft. This is North American Aerospace Defense Command. We've detected hostile action in near-Earth orbit. State your intentions." Jarn laughed. "The primitives think they can help. How adorable. Stay out of this, humans, unless you want to be next." Vrell stared at the transmission. Why would humans involve themselves? This wasn't their fight. They barely understood what was happening. The logical choice was to stay hidden, avoid drawing attention from hostile forces. But then, honey badgers weren't exactly known for making logical choices, were they? The transmission continued. "Hostile vessels, you have 30 seconds to power down weapons and withdraw from Earth space. This is your only warning." Jarn's laughter intensified. "Or what? You'll throw rocks at us? Your most advanced weapon couldn't scratch our shields." 20 seconds passed. Then 10, then 5. Then Earth's moon lit up like a sun. Vrell's sensors screamed as massive energy signatures erupted from lunar installations he hadn't even known existed. Weapon platforms that had been perfectly camouflaged, hidden in craters and beneath the surface, suddenly came online. The energy readings were impossible. This was technology far beyond what Earth should possess. "What is that?" Dulvik gasped. The answer came from NORAD. "Those would be our defensive installations. We've been ready for extraterrestrial contact for quite some time. We just preferred not to advertise. 6 beams of coherent energy, each powerful enough to crack a planet's crust, lanced out from the moon. They didn't hit the Scarran ships. Instead, they formed a cage of light around the raiders, a prison of pure energy that made their shields flare and overload. "Impossible!" Jarn shouted. "Your technology level is centuries behind this." "Yeah," the human voice replied, and Vrell could hear the smile in it. "We get that a lot. Turns out humans are pretty good at 2 things, lying about our capabilities and preparing for the worst. You picked the wrong planet to threaten." More ships appeared on sensors. Human ships. Dozens of them. Decloaking from positions throughout near-Earth space. They weren't the primitive fusion vessels Vrell had seen in public databases. These were sleek warships with energy signatures that matched or exceeded his own vessel's technology. "How long?" Vrell whispered. "How long have they had this?" His science officer checked the data streaming from the human ships. "Sir, based on the technology signatures, I'd estimate at least 50 Earth years, maybe longer. They've been hiding their true advancement level deliberately." The NORAD transmission continued. "Scaran vessels, you are now locked in a containment field. Any attempt to fire weapons or escape will result in immediate destruction. Krathian vessel Crimson Talon, you are cleared to withdraw from the engagement zone. We'll handle this." Vrell found his voice. "Why? Why help us? We've been observing you without permission. We're not allies." There was a pause. Then a different voice came through, older, female, carrying authority. "This is Admiral Jessica Park, United Earth Space Command. Commander Vrell, we've been aware of your presence since you entered the solar system. We've monitored your landing in Montana, your encounter with the Bridger family, and your subsequent surveillance. We chose not to interfere because you hadn't shown hostile intent. But these raiders are threatening you as much as us," Vrell protested. "Why risk yourselves?" "Because it's the right thing to do," Admiral Park said simply. "And because we have a pretty strict policy about bullies. We don't like them, especially bullies who think they can threaten people near our home." The Scaran ships were trying desperately to break free from the energy cage. It wasn't working. More human vessels moved into position, weapons trained but not firing. "You could destroy them," Vrell said. "Your weapons are more than capable." "We could," Park agreed, "but we'd rather take them into custody, extract their crew, and disable their ships. Killing is a last resort for us, Commander. We prefer other options when available." Vrell thought about Brutus, about how the honey badger could have killed him but instead had just driven him away. Thought about Tommy's parents teaching respect for all creatures. Thought about a species that hid its true strength while projecting weakness, not out of cowardice, but out of choice. "Stand down," he ordered his crew. "Accept the human assistance." The next hour was a masterclass in military efficiency. The humans extracted the Scaran crews using transport technology Vrell had only seen in theoretical papers. They disabled the raider ships without destroying them, already talking about reverse engineering the salvage. They did all of this while maintaining communication with the Crimson Talon, offering medical assistance and even sending over repair drones to fix the damage from Brutus's attack. When it was over, Admiral Park's face appeared on Vrell's view screen. She was older, her hair gray, but her eyes were sharp and missed nothing. "Commander Vrell, I think it's time we had an honest conversation." "I agree," Vrell said quietly. "You came here to evaluate humanity for Galactic Council membership. Your preliminary report suggests you were leaning toward recommending our extermination." She held up a hand as Vrell started to protest. "We've been monitoring your communications. It's fine. We understand. From an outside perspective, we must look pretty chaotic." "That's a simplified assessment," Vrell admitted. Park smiled. "Here's what you need to understand about humans, Commander. We're paradoxical. We fight constantly among ourselves, yes, but we also form the strongest bonds in the galaxy. We're capable of terrible violence and extraordinary compassion, often from the same individual. We've nearly destroyed our planet multiple times, but we've also worked together to save it. We're not simple creatures. I'm beginning to realize that. That honey badger that attacked you, Brutus, he's a perfect example of Earth's nature. Fierce, protective, willing to fight anything that threatens what he loves, but also capable of gentleness with those who show him kindness. We learned from our animals, Commander. Or maybe they learned from us. Either way, we share certain traits." Vrell looked at his bandaged arm. "Your technology level, the weapons, the ships. Why hide it?" "Because the galaxy isn't ready for us yet," Park said bluntly. "We've studied the political landscape out there, the territorial disputes, the xenophobia, the quick trigger fingers. If we'd announced ourselves as a peer-level military power, every faction would have seen us as either a threat or a resource to exploit. Better to look harmless until we weren't. That's remarkably cynical." "That's remarkably practical," Park corrected. "We're not naive, Commander. We know what's out there. We've been listening to galactic communications for decades. We've seen how new species get treated when they join the community. We decided to control our own introduction on our terms. Dolvik, who had been listening silently, spoke up. But now you've revealed yourselves. To save us. Why? Park's expression softened. Because, like I said, we don't like bullies. And because if we're going to join the galactic community eventually, we want to do it by showing who we really are. Yeah, we can fight. We can build weapons that would terrify most civilizations, but we'd rather help. We'd rather save lives, even lives of people who came here planning to judge us. Vrell felt something shift in his chest, a fundamental reassessment of everything he thought he knew. What do you want from the Galactic Council? Honestly, nothing right now. We're not ready for membership. We have problems to solve, unity to build, technology to refine. But someday, when we are ready, we want to be seen as equals. Not threats, not primitives, not resources. Equals, partners. And if the Council doesn't see it that way? Park's smile turned cold. Then we'll remain independent and protect our interests accordingly. We're patient, Commander. We've been evolving on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. We can wait a few more centuries for the galaxy to catch up to us. The transmission ended, leaving Vrell staring at the view screen. Around him, his crew worked silently, processing everything they'd witnessed. "Sir," Dolvik said finally, "what are you going to tell the Council?" Vrell pulled up his preliminary report, the one recommending Earth's extermination. He read through his own words, his arguments about human violence and environmental destruction and tribal conflicts. All true facts, all valid concerns, all completely missing the point. He deleted the entire document. "I'm going to tell them the truth," he said. "That humanity is dangerous, yes, unpredictable, absolutely, but also resilient, innovative, and capable of extraordinary growth. I'm going to recommend we leave them alone for now, monitor from a distance, and wait to see what they become. They'll ask for specifics, sir. Evidence." Vrell touched his bandaged arm. "I'll tell them about a creature called a honey badger that weighs less than a food ration but fights like a warrior 3 times its size. I'll tell them about a child who showed kindness to an injured animal and earned loyalty that transcended species. I'll tell them about a civilization that hid weapons capable of destroying fleets because they preferred the option of mercy over the necessity of violence." He stood, straightening his uniform. "And I'll tell them that if the Galactic Council is smart, we'll make absolutely certain that when humanity does join us among the stars, they do it as friends. Because I genuinely do not want to see what happens if we make them our enemies." Dolvik nodded slowly. "A wise assessment, sir. Wisdom gained through humiliation," Vrell muttered. "The best kind, supposedly." 3 months later, Vrell presented his findings to the Galactic Council. The chamber, filled with representatives from 47 different species, fell silent as he concluded his report. "So, your recommendation," the council leader said slowly, "is to classify Earth as a developing civilization with extreme advancement potential. Maintain observation protocols, but avoid direct interference." "Correct. Because of a honey badger." "Among other reasons, yes." The chamber erupted in debate. Some council members laughed, dismissing his report as the result of trauma or incompetence. Others took it seriously, pulling up their own data on human development. The arguments raged for hours. In the end, the vote was close, but Vrell's recommendation passed. Earth would be left alone, watched carefully, but not interfered with. Not yet. As Vrell left the council chambers, his communicator chimed. A message from an unknown source, routed through encryption protocols that shouldn't exist. He opened it cautiously. It was a video. Tommy Bridger, now with his cast removed, running through the forest with Brutus keeping pace beside him. The boy's laughter echoed through speakers as the honey badger performed what could only be described as playful attacks, rolling and tumbling with a child who showed absolutely no fear. At the bottom of the video, a simple message in perfect Krathian script. "Thanks for the recommendation, Commander. When we're ready to join you out there, we'll remember who gave us the chance to grow. Admiral Park sends her regards. Vrell watched the video 3 times, a smile slowly spreading across his face. Terrifying, he murmured. Absolutely terrifying. They hacked our communications, decoded our language, and sent me a thank you note featuring the creature that mauled me. He saved the video, filed it with his personal records. Someday, humanity would take their place among the stars. And when they did, Vrell suspected the galaxy would never be the same. They'd bring their chaos and their compassion, their violence and their mercy, their honey badgers and their unconquerable spirits. The universe wasn't ready. But then again, neither had Vrell been, standing in that Montana forest, staring down at a creature that refused to acknowledge its own insignificance. Maybe that was the point. Maybe that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Someone who didn't know when to quit. Someone who looked at impossible odds and decided to fight anyway. Someone who protected the vulnerable not because it was logical, but because it was right. Vrell returned to his ship, composing his personal log entry. Final note on humanity assessment. They are not ready for us. We are not ready for them. The question is not whether they will join galactic civilization, but whether galactic civilization is prepared for what happens when they do. Recommendation: start preparing now. Because ready or not, they're coming. And like their honey badgers, they won't ask permission, they won't back down, and they absolutely will not give up. He paused, added one final line. Also, never, under any circumstances, threaten their children. Trust me on this one. Somewhere on Earth, in a wildlife rehabilitation center in Montana, a 7-year-old boy fell asleep with a honey badger curled up at the foot of his bed. And somewhere in orbit above, hidden among the stars, Admiral Park smiled as she read the Galactic Council's decision. Earth had time, and humans were very, very good at using time to prepare. The galaxy had been warned.